Welcome. NOAA has just released its May of 2022 Global Climate Report, and this video is a summary of that report, plus a few other items I've gleaned from elsewhere. I hope you will enjoy. An overall summary. May of 2022 was the 9th warmest May on record of 143. La Nina persists and is projected to persist through the Northern Hemisphere autumn, possibly even into the new year. Arctic sea ice was the 14th lowest May sea ice extent. Antarctic was the 5th lowest. Atmospheric carbon dioxide reached 420.99 parts per million, which is a new record for the month of May. Here is a map of where the major climate phenomena were this month. The US had above average temperatures and precipitation. Europe was the 8th hottest May on record, and China the 6th hottest on record. There's above average temperatures in Africa with extreme rainfall in South Africa. There were above average temperatures in Australia and they had heavy rains. The one exception to all of this is South America, which had, for the first time in a long time, below average temperatures in May. And as you can see off the west coast of South America, the El Nino phenomenon persists. Well, let's take a look at the detailed distribution of temperatures and the actual numbers. This is a percentiles map which shows record highs and record lows. Record lows are depicted by dark blue, and you'll see there are no pixels on this map that are dark blue, and precious few that are much cooler than average, which is the sort of medium color blue. There are, however, a large number of record warmest pixels. Those are the deep red pixels. And most of the map is either pink or light red, which means that temperatures were above average. Globally, we were 0.77 degrees centigrade above average. Land, 1.12 degrees. Ocean, 0.64 degrees. All of those are slightly lower than last month. The Northern Hemisphere was on average 0.95 degrees above the long-term average, and the Southern Hemisphere 0.6 degrees above the long-term average. I've updated my matrix showing the month-by-month ranking of the global temperatures, and May of 22 being 9th begins to make me wonder whether 2022 will in fact surpass 2021. At the moment it's still ahead, but the remaining months of 2021 were all relatively warm months, and so 2022 is going to have to go some to maintain its position. So I suspect we're heading more towards a 7th position than a 6th. Next, let's take a look at the lower troposphere. This is the temperatures measured by satellites. This is the UAH version of the plot, which tends to be the cooler of the two analyses. May global temperatures increased. They follow a long-term trend of about 0.14 degrees centigrade per decade, shown here with this dotted line. And note, these are not surface temperatures. These are temperatures a few kilometers high up in the atmosphere. Let's take a look at Arctic sea ice extent. Here is the month-by-month variation, and you can see that 2022 is already well below the record year of 2012. Now, whether that will be maintained for the rest of the year is a matter to be seen, but nonetheless it shows a distinct cooling of that area. The normal extent of the Arctic sea ice at this time is shown by this orange line, and for the most part the sea ice is within it. One of the things you do have to understand with this is not solid ice. This is patches of sea with at least 15% coverage of sea ice, so it's not even particularly dense. I'd much prefer to see the 100% coverage area rather than this. A similar story for the Antarctic sea ice. You can see the 2022 in the blue line here is well below the average and well outside the percentile range. Again, the normal sea ice extent at this time is shown by the orange line on the right, and the current sea ice extent is well within it. We are fortunate to have such a persistent La Nina, otherwise global temperatures would be skyrocketing at the moment. Last month, these two predictions of the ENSO situation didn't agree very well, but now they seem to be in somewhat better agreement. However, the IRI-CPC model on the left does have a very wide range of possibilities, from a deep La Nina with that purple line to a strong El Nino with that green line at the top. The CSF version 2 seems to be far more constrained and shows La Nina persisting into the end of the year and slowly drifting towards and ENSO neutral conditions into the beginning of next year. As I stated before, the carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere has set a new record for the month of May at 420.99 parts per million. That is 1.86 parts per million higher than the same time last year. There are still those that seem to believe that the solar cycle is going to go into hibernation and save us from global warming. There is no sign of that happening as yet. May was very active. It had 2 X flares, 19 M flares, and 472 C flares, and 191 CMEs. Those are all very high levels of activity, especially this early in the solar cycle. The top plot here, the blue line with the dots on it, is the actually observed sunspot number. The red curve is what was predicted by the Solar Cycle 25 panel, and you can see which was a prediction of a cycle that was very much like Solar Cycle 24, but you can see that the sun is sprinting way ahead of that model by nearly a factor of 2. Similarly, for the long-term sunspot number models shown below, they have a range at the moment of a peak at about 120, which will be about the same as the last cycle, all the way up to 250, which would be twice what we had last time around. So it's going to take some time for these numbers to settle down. So to summarize, La Nina is hanging in longer than was expected. Globally, it was the 9th hottest May on record. Both Arctic and Antarctic sea ice is below average. There's no sign of the solar cycle going into hibernation and rescuing us from anthropogenic global warming. So thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions, please enter in the comments section below. And until next time, stay safe and goodbye.